Hello my friends, Richard here. It's been a while. Good to see you. Got a coconut here with me helping out. I have a very interesting drum set that I got from a lady in a cracked out trailer park today. Like you do. But it needs a whole lot of cleaning. But before that, I wanted to show you a couple of its features. He's already having a ball. But yeah, let's take a look at this Sonor Sonic Plus 1990's drum set, and let me tell you what it's got going on. And I happen to have already dug through my shed and got a bunch of old drum heads. Well, most of those are actually new old stock drum heads. So we're gonna make this thing play nice and see what she sounds like. And he already got my drum key lost under the amp shelves. Thanks, buddy. So one thing I really like about gear is finding things that are a little bit unique and that kind of stick out from the norm. And in the Wild West 90s wasteland that was the drum universe back then, they came out with some crazy innovations. And this one, like I said, is made in Germany, so it's got these big old beefy rubber feet that are very, I don't know, I would hate to break one and lose it. But anyway, they bolt on to the actual lugs, so there's no shell penetration, which is good resonance to these. They're all birch, 9-ply birch kick drum, 6-ply everything else, toms and snare. But check this out. So this has this little lever pull, and then you pop out your leg to your spur to the desired point, and then you put that back down. It's pretty cool. This one I actually had to find a little lug to fit in there. I guess they're supposed to have these type of hex head bolts, but this happened to fit the thread pattern, so I'm using that for now. Another cool thing, just like the Tamas of the time, they have these polymer plastic rims, which are kind of cool, and there's no claws to worry about. And then they have these lugs, which have plastic washers on them as well. And these lugs are kind of neat too. They're actually flathead screws. They're not your standard type of lugs. So what is interesting as well about that is you have less rattle than you would have if you had, say, metal or wood hoops and you had claws that weren't, if your drum wasn't tuned tight. Sometimes you get a little rattle. Not with these guys. Pretty interesting. So how weird is it to use a flathead on your lugs? These things are super beefy too. Check that out. That is a really thick lug. So as long as you don't break your polymer hoop, which is way heavier than the Tama hoops, by the way. These drums all have a good weight to them. And as I said, cracked out trailer parks where I got it from. I grew up in a mobile home, so I knows them when I sees them. Let's just say that. Add to the fact that this was on the marketplace for $700. And then the next day it was on marketplace for $400, and I threw him an offer for $240. So if I bought your drum set, I'm sorry. Okay, the other thing I will mention is these things smell like heavy smoke, and that's the other reason I want to get them all cleaned up and everything. Yeah, that hoop's in great shape. That's cool. This is probably a 95 kit, so that's awesome. But yeah, they smell like heavy smoke, and there's obviously some gunk and a little bit of degradation on them. Not much rust, which is great, but there's some paint that somebody got on them, so that's going to be a pain to get off. These are the Sonic Plus 2s, made in Germany, if I hadn't said that already. That shell might have a little bit of a warp to it, but I think these were all about resonance, because like I said, birch and very little shell penetration, and the toms are all suspension mount. I'll show you these toms here in just a second. Let's get this disgusting thing out of here. Insides look great though. I was worried these may have been left outside. There's no mold or anything in there. Trying my best not to lose any of these little bibs and bobs here, because it'd be really hard to replace these, I think. Coconut pointed out that this Remo Power Stroke 3 head's in really good shape, other than a few scuff marks and a little bit of paint. I may reuse this. I don't know. I have a Aquarian Super Kick 2 I kind of wanted to put on here. But drum heads are expensive. It's weird how anybody selling these online says this is a 22 by 18 inch kick drum, but it is a 16. People just don't know what they're talking about, I guess. Maybe they're measuring the hoops. But when you're measuring your drum, you only measure the width of the wood guys, not the hoops. I'm sure most of you guys watching know that though. Coconut always helps my projects. You guys are gonna have to deal with him being here. So there's not a whole lot of pitting. This one is probably the worst, this little bit right here on the actual chrome. And you can see that this lacquer finish, it has some checking in it. This may have been outside or maybe in a shed exposed to the weather, something like that. This is number 1480. This is a Sonor Sonic Plus 2, very cool. This is their mounting system, which is pretty neat. But I've seen a couple renditions and it looks like some of them have 2 of these bars and then some of them just have this. So I'm not sure why the change. Like, I could tell that another bar would probably help it be more stable, but it's probably fine like this. Well, that actually doesn't sound bad like it is. But since this one has the caps and they're not missing, and somebody just taped over this, I'm assuming it didn't come with that other bar. No penetration to the shell, so the shell has no giant holes in it, just the lug holes. Pretty cool. So this thing is pretty damaged, but this is the original head. It's unicorn, Sonor unicorn. But anyway, so that's destroyed. All these things have like a little bit of paint on them. I'm gonna try to get that off with some acetone. But check this out. 2 different size lugs that go to this thing, because they have the center lug right here off center. So it's a 5-inch shell. It's not a big snare at all, but it's off center, so that's just another weird style point. And their throw off is metal and polymer plastic, which is weird, and I'm not sure I like that for a throw off, but it's survived and it works. So that's neat. The butt plate as well, also that polymer stuff. Okay, one more stop before the floor time I wanted to show you. So here's the suspension mount on the 14-inch tom, and this actually does have a rubber stop here. So this is factory, so that makes me feel a little bit better about it. This is what I wanted to show you. This is why innovation from back then is so cool. You can see some checking in this lacquer right here. That doesn't bother me too much, just a little bit of age, which I really like this green finish too. You don't see that normally. Check this out. So this again mounts to the outside of the lugs. So you don't have to change your drum heads or anything if you wanted to replace these for whatever reason. You can just, it mounts to the lug. That actually screws into the lug. Super weird. And this bar goes all the way down and across, so there's, again, more resonance for the shell, less giant holes put in the shell. And you just adjust where you want it, and you clamp her down. How cool is that? That's like, what an innovation. Alright, I'm going to get to cleaning these things. It's going to take me all night. Let me do that, and then I'll bring you back when I'm done.
It's 2 a.m. and there's an engine in my head. Don't know if you're by you. Darkness all around, my pulse begins to pound, and I can picture you in my room. Visions ganging, but I know what it will say.
So this snare might be a lost cause. This is all paint. It's all over the hoops, like really, really bad. It's not coming off. I was able to find some 8-lug hoops out in my shed because I have a lot of parts for drums, but I don't know. I have to see what I can do about that. It's just nasty. Alright, so I'm a little over 3 hours into cleaning this kit. I was able to get a lot of the paint off, not a lot of the haze though, so it's looking better, but honestly, I think this is going to have to be a rewrap or a repaint. It would be cool to repaint it. For instance, the high tom over here, it's just this haze won't go away. It's just got too much paint on it. Gosh, if you ever want to paint the hardware on your drums, take the hardware off first. Okay, guys. All right. All right, guys. This is the result of all our hard work last night. I'm not gonna lie and say they came out great, because there is some issues with this lacquer and stuff, but I think they're pretty. And I got most of that paint off. Obviously on these rims I didn't. I'm just gonna replace this hardware at some point, because it was a nightmare trying to get it off the chrome. But this has to be cleaned up too, this little adapter. Everything's holding well. I just sat for a while tuning this guy, and the weak point seems to be the snare. Let me let you hear what it sounds like. We're just going to do the camera mic today, but here soon I'll do a full-on recording. And these guys like low tunings. When I was just moving these around, they just sing. Even just moving them around the floor, they just have this innate vibration. They like their really low tunings. Didn't have a reso head. All I had was like a Pintec reaction head, so it's just like there's a head there, but it's not really doing much. It's all fabric basically, though they do record good. I got one on my kit over here. My kick pedal is just my old school vintage Tama with the little fuzz ball. These things are really cool for just getting the tone out of the drum, but they don't like high tunings. The snare sounds okay, not the greatest, but I'll let you hear that in a second. Yeah, let me set it up and jam real quick and let you hear it. So the heads, I went through my garage and pulled a bunch of old drum heads. They're all new, basically, but they're old, never been used, basically. So, been sitting around for a while. The snare head is the Genera HD Level 360, Evans G1, G1, G1. I happen to have a set. But let me let you hear these tunings, and then we'll jam on it and let you hear what it sounds like. So the resonance is insane. There's so much resonance in these toms. The snare, a lot more tuning will probably help. It's got a little sensitivity, but it's just, I feel like the snare beds could be cut a little deeper. Overall though, I'm pretty stoked with it. The tuning range, like I said, just after experimenting with it, the tuning range prefers to be lower. Man, it's pretty cool having a kit that's just a smaller kit where all the toms are tuned lower than probably my top 3 up here. Because I got a 14-inch down here, which probably sounds just about where this 12 is right here. So it's pretty crazy how low these go. And just have so much resonance. And I think part of the resonance is just the way they designed it. There's just nothing penetrating the shell other than a single bolt per lug. It's not even 2 per lug. And even on the floor tom, it's the same way. And it's birch, which is big punchy sound. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked with this thing, guys. I'm looking for another kick because I think this would be a cool kit to have, like a dual kick setup, dual vintage 16s. So if you see another Sonic Plus 2 Sonor kick floating around out there that is green in color, shoot me a message. I'd appreciate it. But other than that, I'm going to keep messing around with this thing. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.